The Pirate Ship and the Lost Treasure. There was a young boy named Alaa who always dreamed of owning his own pirate ship. He imagined himself as its captain, sailing across the world in search of many lost treasures from long ago. Alaa often spent his weekends with his grandparents. Their house was in a rural setting resembling a large, old farmhouse with a big garden. In this garden, there was a small, old wooden shed and a special area filled with beautiful, fragrant flowers. One sunny holiday, Alaa was spending the day with his grandparents. As they sat down for breakfast, Alaa told them about a dream he had the night before. He was the captain of a pirate ship, sailing across the world in search of lost treasures. His grandfather smiled and said, "That's great, but every pirate needs a map to guide them to the treasure. A map is proof that the treasure really exists." So Alaa and his grandfather spent the afternoon making a treasure map. The map included many dangers that one had to face before finding the treasure. There were sharks, mountains of sand, and many other obstacles a pirate would have to overcome. At the end of the day, Alaa hugged and kissed his grandparents goodbye before heading home with his mother. But he couldn't stop thinking about the pirate ship and the lost treasure. The next day, Alaa's grandfather decided he would start building a pirate ship for Alaa to make his dream come true as a surprise for the coming weekend. He knew it would take a lot of time, so he got to work right away. He realized he would need plenty of wood to build a fantastic pirate ship. As he stood in the garden taking care of the flowers, he noticed the old shed. An idea struck him. He could use the wood from the shed to build Alaa's pirate ship. He went over to the shed, opened the door, and found an old steering wheel and parts of his ancient car. He also saw a bell he used to hang on the shed's door, along with other things that were no longer useful. He took the steering wheel and the bell and placed them nearby, knowing they'd be essential for building the ship. The grandfather then started dismantling the old shed, gathering the wood needed for the ship. He carried everything to his workshop, ready to start building. He spent days cutting and shaping the wood to make Alaa's dream ship, working hard to finish before the weekend. By Thursday, the town market day had arrived. Alaa's grandmother always went to this market every week. As she was leaving, she asked her husband if he needed anything from the market. He replied, "Yes, there's a stall that sells flags. Could you get me a big pirate flag to put on top of Alaa's ship?" His wife smiled and set off for the market, taking her shopping bag and a list of things she needed. Meanwhile, the grandfather went back to the workshop to finish the ship, adding the final touches. He painted it, fixed the car's steering wheel at the front, and attached the bell as a warning signal to alert everyone of incoming danger. He even found some old ropes in the workshop, perfect for making the ship seaworthy. All he needed now was the pirate flag his wife was bringing. The next morning, Friday, the long-awaited day had arrived. At 9 o'clock, Alaa ran to his grandparents' house with a big smile on his face. He asked his grandmother, "Where is Grandpa?" She replied, "He's in the workshop, but first, how about a hug?" Alaa hugged his grandmother and apologized for his impatience. He then ran to find his grandfather, who was standing outside the workshop. Alaa hugged him and asked, "Do you still have the treasure map, Grandpa?" His grandfather smiled and replied, "Yes, I still have it. Let's go look for the treasure." The grandfather opened the workshop door, and Alaa's eyes widened with excitement as he saw the pirate ship. His smile grew, and his heart raced with joy. "Is this for me? You made my dream come true, Grandpa. Thank you so much," he exclaimed. The grandfather pulled the ship out of the workshop and onto the lawn so Alaa could start playing as the captain. Alaa climbed aboard, steering and ringing the bell to warn other pirates that he was now the captain and ready to search for treasure. "Did you forget something?" his grandfather asked. Alaa remembered the treasure map they had made the week before and ran to get it. The grandfather, feeling proud, went back to the garden, made himself some tea, and sat down to read the newspaper, happy to see his grandson so joyful. Alaa, now on his ship, shouted commands to his imaginary crew. As he imagined the green grass of the lawn turning into deep blue waves, the ship began to rock as if he were sailing on a real sea. He felt like a true pirate, ready to find the lost treasure. He set off on his adventure, holding the map in one hand and steering the ship. After what felt like hours of sailing, he spotted an island in the distance. Alaa decided to head there, thinking it would be a perfect place to bury treasure. When he finally reached the island, he realized it was much smaller than it had seemed from the ship, about the size of his grandparents' backyard. "No matter," he thought. "The smaller the island, the easier it will be to find the treasure." Alaa climbed off his ship, map in hand, and followed the path he had drawn with his grandfather. He reached a small tree and started digging. The first attempt yielded nothing, but Alaa didn't give up. He tried digging again, deeper this time. Suddenly, he struck something hard, a small wooden chest. He brushed off the dirt, opened it, and found it filled with shiny gold coins. "Yes, I've found the treasure," he shouted. He carried the chest back to the ship, but soon realized he had forgotten to tie the ship to anything when he arrived. While he was busy digging, the ship had drifted away with the waves. "How will I get back to Grandpa and Grandma?" Alaa wondered. He sat down and began to cry. Suddenly, he heard a distant voice. It was his grandfather, calling his name. "How did you find me?" Alaa asked, relieved. "You must have fallen asleep on the pirate ship," his grandfather replied. "You were probably